pag-ibig sa kalat puso'y umaawit, awiting alay. Salamat sa iyo. Salamat sa araw, sa buwan ng ibig, sa hayop at halaman, sa galaangin. Salamat sa kaibigan, sa kapwa-tao ko. Salamat sa inyo. Bawat sandali ng buhay ay ligaya. Bawat tinig ay tunay na biyaya. Bawat pagsisikap ay may gantimpala. Dahilan man likha, narito po ako. Una ng pag-ibig sa kalat ng mundo. Puso'y umaawit, awiting alay ko. Salamat sa iyo.
We invite guests to please sit down. Call on Church of Mayan for institutional welcome.
Sino ang kanyang babagsakan? Kung simpa at siya'y bibigyan ka pa ng iyong malay kay ako. Prinsipyo ng tipan ay prinsipyo ng kamatayan na walang nananalo ang lahat ay palugan kami. Alam ng bibigyan ng asawa at kapatid ng mga at ina at mga anak nila. Prinsipyo ng tipan ay prinsipyo ng kamatayan na walang nananalo ang lahat ay palugan kami. Alam ng bibigyan ng asawa at kapatid ng ama at ina at mga anak nila. Ang pinakalimasok sa lupa, payapa galing mahal na paa, na bumibigyan ng lupa. Alam ba niya na ang tulog mo, sigang pumuputok sa hindi sa loob ng kubo ng po. Prinsipyo ng tipan ay prinsipyo, kamatayan na walang nananalo at lahat ay tanungan tumiling. Alam ng bibigyan ng asawa at kapatid ng ama at ina at mga anak nila. Prinsipyo ng tipan ay prinsipyo, kamatayan na walang nananalo at lahat ay tanungan tumiling. Alam ng bibigyan ng asawa at kapatid ng ama at ina at mga anak nila. Ang kamay na may baril ng praso ay hindi sadyang rin mga ani ng kapuso ang tasya ng iba. Ako'y mula ng bukay laway ng ang pakinala, di pagkakipagtalo, dapat kayong mag-hati-hati may sayo at sa kanya, sa amin at sa iba, na sayawan na pangyarihan, taon sa iba. Wala sa loob ng pera, ng mga anak kiligera, dinasali ko lang isang malapat na lamesa, sa kanila at ilan ang mga libag, na pagdating ko marami ang magpunan sa sugal ng pananako, mga araw ng ay tinanang pananako, ang loob kasi katulog, nakulanang masyarabaran, tulog ang kalansin, ang binibilang ng pera, at kung inasakalang ligtas na sa sarili, sulong ang tikmaan sa pituman kailan may isa ito, at kung ang sipa, pero pakinabay dahil ang mga at sa pagdaluan ito, sabihin sabihin, may nagkakakari. At kung hindi nyo narinig, ay sasabihin sa muli. Sa ay sige, ay nawal ang nanalo ang ay talagang lumilikalag ng nabibilang ang asawa, kapatid, ang ama at ina at mga anak nila. Prinsipyo lang tipan ay prinsipyo, ay nawalang nananalo ang lahat ay talagang lumilikalag ng nabibilang ang asawa at kapatid, ang ama at ina at mga anak nila. Prinsipyo lang tipan ay prinsipyo, ay nawalang nananalo ang lahat ay talagang lumilikalag ng nabibilang ang asawa at kapatid, ang ama at ina at mga anak nila.
Good morning, everyone. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Welcome to the Nukes Asia Forum 2026. But before we begin, I'd like to give some thanks to Katong Bayan for sharing with us their original song called Shrapnel, which is really a battle cry, right? For in behalf of our communities in protecting the future that we all deserve. My name is Bea Balagan. I'm one of your hosts for today's forum. And with me is
DJ am here, and I am from NFTM Network in Tucson. We are honored to be your moderators for today. Under the overarching banner, ending myths, saving lives, and building a safer future. Yesterday, we did a youth forum, which set an incredible, urgent energy. Today, we ground ourselves further in our shared struggle. Incidentally, this event is being streamed at the NFBM YouTube channel, so you may direct your browsers to see today's events. In this point, let me acknowledge the guests that we have today. We have NGO Forum on the AED,
NNAM Japan,
Don't Nuke the Climate, Australian Climate Conservation Fund,
CNIC,
AFEM,
the Nuclear Free Bataan Movement,
from the Office of Senator Rizal Tiveros,
the Hirosino Network Stop Camino,
Guest Naked,
Philippine Movement for Climate Justice,
Youth for Nationalism and Democracy,
SSM,
TEPU,
Yomi,
StepGen,
FOE Japan,
Citizens of the Earth Taiwan,
Kilusan,
World Beyond War,
Kabaro Kaisaka.
and the Tala Storytelling Collective.
Okay, thank you so much for being here with us today. Let's get ourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much. All right, so we all come from different countries. We all represent our communities, our campaign collectives, who all cannot be here because we simply wouldn't fit in this venue if we brought all our allies and our networks. But we're very glad that we are very well represented from various countries, from various movements and communities. And to give our opening remarks, we would like to call on different representatives of the Nukes Asia Forum.
Yes, we would like to call on Attorney Person Pablos from the Philippines, Mr. Daisuke Sato from Japan, Mr. Charles Lee from Taiwan, and Mr. Esther Yu of South Korea.
And I'd like to add to that, I'd like to ask Dave, Sweetie, to come over, and of course, our friend from India, Kumar. He has a very long name, so I asked permission to call him Kumar. Maybe you can do that as well. No? Come. Please come. Satu. Okay, yes. Okay. Yes, just stand and ask to begin with a 1 minute later. No? Of course, overall, we'd like to welcome you. First, I'm Corazon Pablos, now with the International Peace Bureau. But, I'm not ever, I will not be able to leave the issue of nuclear energy, even if now I move on to other endeavors. So, and let me just say a few words that, of course, for the Philippines, this is my face, okay? Our interpreters, okay. I forgot what I'm going to say. Okay, this is also an important moment for us here in the Philippines. Not only because of the resurgence of the issue of nuclear energy, which we have long dealt with back in the late 70s. So that's how long it is. And I think this is the third time the Philippines is hosting this global station. First in 1997, second in 2018, and this year. And we're hoping that our younger generation of anti-nuke activists will continue to welcome and to host the succeeding organization forum. So we have our friends here who most of them have hosted the NNAM several times. In fact, more than 3 times that we did, especially Taiwan and South Korea. So again, there is also the prospect of being able to see the NNAM being hosted in other countries. So that is our hope as well. But the Philippines is always ready. I hope you will agree with me. It's always ready to welcome hosting the Nukes Asia Forum in the Philippines. I think it is very important also to acknowledge that while we have started the NNAM back officially in 1995, or even earlier, from my memory, which is now a bit failing, in 1993, and I think that I'd like to acknowledge Sato-san, who was with us from the very, very beginning. And of course, even if he is not here right now, I remember Professor Shi Min Shi Jinping being one of the originals from Taiwan, and of course from South Korea, yes. So they are the ones who were with us from the very beginning. That seems to be a long time ago. I didn't realize that this was more than 30 years ago, I guess. But we are grateful and also appreciative that we have now a growing number of younger generation who are with us. So that is true across the different places that we have been. Korea is, Taiwan, they sent us young activists who will continue to address this issue of nuclear energy in our particular countries. We have similar struggles, that's true, and that is the reason why, even if this is just a regional formation, particularly in Asia, because when we started, this was the time when the nuclear industry have started to aggressively bring nuclear energy into Asia. But we are hoping to expand over the years. We'll welcome our friends from Europe, of course, Australia. I hope they will agree with me that they're also part of Asia. and so, including Turkey. Our friends from Indonesia and Thailand are not able to come for various reasons. But this is open to them, and unfortunately, they will not be with us physically. We'll open the Zoom, and I hope that they will continue to monitor this. I think our moderators, our MCs will acknowledge our speakers. I'm not going to say that, but we are very, very happy that Senator Liza Hontiveros has sent a representative who is from Morocco, no less. So you will hear him speak later. So at this point, I'd like to ask our friends to say 1-minute greetings to everyone. So would you do it, Esther? Okay, you can start.
Me?
Yeah.
Sato-san.
So Sato-san brought along an interpreter in the person of Mr. Masa. So, okay. 1 minute.
アジア各国で民衆が50年とか60年とかずっと戦い続けてきました。
We have been witness that Asian people have been keeping up struggle against the nuclear power plants for the last 40 or 50 years.
このニュースの方は33年間、続けてきましたけれども、必ず原発 して、一緒に集会をして、デモをして、お互いに励まし合っていきます。
The uniqueness of our struggle of the NFA is we are located the area to be participated by our participants, where the nuclear power plant will be built, plan to be built. So we have been together with people who will be affected by the nuclear power plant. So we join their demonstrations and to dialogue with them.
これからもみんなで連帯して考え続けて、アジアから核兵器も原発もない、そういうアジアをみんなで連帯して続けていくと思います。
Let's continue our struggle against the nuclear power plant or any nuclear weapons to be deployed in this area by our continuing the unity and alliance between us. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. I'm great to have this meeting. This is the first time I listen to your national anthem. It's so sensational and dynamic the song we heard yesterday. And that's why you can fight such a long time for the non-nuke. And being the first non-nuke country in Asia, Taiwan would like to help and share our experience to all of you. We have very strong sustainable energy in Taiwan, like a solar, electricity, like a windmill, and we need to learn something about your geothermal. So I'm very glad to meet my friend Kumao. I met him in Fukushima 15 years ago. And I'm sorry that he cannot go out from India. His passport was taken away by the government. So we are lucky to be so democratic here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Dave Sweeney. I've come from Australia and I really agree with the Australian nuclear-free movement to this room and to this country. This is my first time in the Philippines. I just arrived last night and I feel it's been a really warm welcome. I'm very happy to be here and I look at the energy in this room, the energy on the song from the stage, the banners, and I feel maybe I haven't left home. This feels like a struggle we have there. We're working hard in Australia with trade unions and labour groups, with First Nations, whose lands is very affected by uranium mining and waste dump proposals. And last year we had a national election where domestic nuclear power was the single biggest difference between the two major parties. And we defeated the pro-nuclear party. And maybe there's some stories there. So I wanted to just acknowledge the effort and the struggle over years in the Philippines and throughout the broader Asian region, and to say that Australia, as a part of Asia, but right down the bottom there, we're here in spirit and in solidarity, and thanks for your efforts, and look forward to being part of this over the next few days.
Good morning, friends of Asia. On behalf of the Korean delegation, I would like to thank the organizer and welcome everyone to the NNIAP 2026. Last night, the South Korean government announced the results of its site selection process for new nuclear power plant and SMRs. Despite strong opposition from the local community, the government is once again pushing nuclear expansion forward. This was very painful news for us, but not surprising. In South Korean communities have reached the undeveloped nuclear waste facilities and new nuclear power plant project for decades. And we have stopped them before. Today, many citizens are still standing with us, raising their voices in a new nuclear project, lifetime extensions, and radioactivities. So years of political turmoil and democratic struggle, we have learned clearly that nuclear power is not an energy issue. It is also a democracy issue. Decisions that affect generations must not be imposed without transparency, public participation, and local consent. It is why we need each other. The lessons of Fukushima, the experience of Bataan, and the struggle across Korea and Asia are connected. Last night's announcement reminds us that the nuclear industry is moving forward, but it also reminds us why our solidarity matters. We come from different countries and speak different languages, but we share the same determination. We will not give up. South Korea will not give up, and every part of Asia will not give up. So we must become more connected, more organized, and more united than ever before. Together, we can build a nuclear-free Asia. Let's go together. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is S.P. Kumar. I come from India. I'm very excited to be here with you all this morning. And I want to begin by thanking Cora and the beautiful team for putting together this beautiful program. It's a very timely thing that we are doing now. Because if you see around the world leaders are speaking about using nuclear weapons so casually, so carelessly, so irresponsibly. And then on the other hand, nuclear power is being bandied about as the panacea for all our problems. You know, new nuclear power plants are being built. Now they talk about small modular reactors and all that. So when all this hoopla is going on, we need young people to stand up and take a clear stand against nuclear power, nuclear bombs, uranium mines, and nuclear waste storage sites, and all of this. So it's a very timely thing that we are doing, and I'm really so happy to see a lot of young people here. So you are the hope for humanity, and thank you very much.
I think at this point, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of a person who is one of our leaders in the anti-nuke movement in the Philippines, back starting in the 70s. I'd like to ask Roland Singulan, Professor Roland Singulan, our chairperson of the Nuclear Free Philippines Coalition. Thank you, Roland is going to be one of our speakers. And lastly, I would like to say that the No-Nukes Asia Forum is not only against nuclear energy, but it is as well against nuclear weapons in the world. So I think that is very important to emphasize, because some groups, sort of make a difference between the two. And we deal with the technology. Okay. Would you like to say a word? Sure.
Good morning to everyone. First of all, I'd like to welcome all the participants and delegates from different countries in Asia in your attendance to this 33rd No-Nukes Asia Forum being held here in Manila. So we hope that I hope that this conference is going to be very, very productive in terms of exchanging ideas, exchanging of tactics and strategies, so that we will have a stronger and more coordinated campaign for the region. And I'd like to add to what Corazon Pablos mentioned. the struggle here in the Philippines is not just the connection between nuclear power and nuclear weapons, but it's also connected with the struggle against the U.S. military bases in the Philippines and in the Asia Pacific region. So thank you and good morning.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it. And I apologize to our moderators. I think we want beyond 10 minutes, but this is the only time we're going to do this. Thank you so much.
With that, I'd like to thank all our representatives from various countries, various movements, various organizations, again for the opening remarks. Before we proceed, it was mentioned indeed that it is critical that we remain an intergenerational movement because to borrow one of our speakers' words, we need each other. And so before we begin officially on the next part of the program, we'd like to acknowledge more of the organizations who are here with us today, starting with the Diocese of Alaminos Pangasinan. Let's give them a round of applause. Diocese of Manila. Let's give them a round of applause. Safe School Movement.
Green Convergence. We also have a representative for our RCAM, IEM, and Ecology. We have a representative from Arcadian Fatima Mandaluyong, Focus on the Global South, Community of Legal Health and Public Interest Sector, or CHEalth. We are also graced by the Freedom from Death Coalition. And we have with us campus journalists from the guilds, DPS Bataan, the Defender, Bataan UP, the Frontliners, UP Clark Pampanga.
It's really an honor to be here today, right? It's really a vibrant community of networks all over Asia with varying expertise, from research to the academy to the interfaith movement, from youth campus journalists to youth organizers. We're really so proud that everyone came here to be with us today. And with that, we'd like to call on our keynote speakers for the day. I'd like to introduce them first before calling them. We have Kervin Kunsua and Ray Dorian. Kervin Kunsua is the council member, council leader of Young Millennials for Environmental Advocacy Network and Nuclear Free Bataan. He is a third-year computer science student and newswriter at the Guild's official student publication of Bataan Peninsula State University's main campus. Let's give him a round of applause. And then we have another speaker, Ray Dorian, spokesperson of the Sentinels for Environmental Protection and Regeneration. Ray Dorian is a second-year broadcasting student at the College of Communications, PUP, the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, and a dedicated youth organizer working at the intersection of environmental justice and student-led activism. As spokesperson for Sentinels for Environmental Protection, she champions climate justice and resists against destructive industries and promotes environmental protection and sustainability. Ray is also an active member of Youth for Nationalism and Democracy, contributing to the youth movement and center the voices of marginalized communities. Again, let's welcome our keynote speakers today.
After our keynote speakers, we will be hearing a response from Attorney Juan Portorevillas, Legislative Director of the Office of Senator Risa Ontiveros, Senate of the Philippines.
Thank you, everyone. We'd like to call Kervin.
Hello everyone, good morning. I am Kervin once again from Bataan. Actually, right now I'm really nervous and pressured. I am merely a student from our province who studies and I do not expect to have the honor to actually speak in this loud crowd, in this large crowd, and an international platform. So once again, I fully thank you. Thanks for this opportunity to actually speak about our advocacy. So today I will be taking on for the keynote speech, which will amplify and will further push our advocacy to transition to renewable energy. But before that, I would like to remind everyone to, as much as possible, let's make this speech interactive. I would like to have your participation throughout the whole speech, and I would like to know your thoughts about the insights and information that will be provided. So the first thing that I would like to do is to ask you guys a question. The first question is, kumusta kayo or how are you? Once again, kumusta kayo or how are you? You just share what you feel right now, what are your emotions, any volunteers? Okay, then I think we're going to ask our delegate here. Mr. What's your name?
I'm Hajime.
Mr. Hajime, kumusta ka or how are you?
Very excited to be here.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Hajime-san told me that he's very excited to learn from the speech today. Any other comments or any other answers? I think,
I am willing and now I'm feeling thrilled and beyond joy to be with all of these people and I feel very connected with each other.
thank you so much. You're like Miss Universe answering the question. So that's a really good question, and I'm really, really happy that most of us in here are actually excited and glad to this program. So the next question is, do you want to die 5 minutes from now? From such a positive energy, drop down to some negativity? Let's answer the question. Do you want to die 5 minutes from now? Just a quick yes or no. I don't can answer. Let's hear from our audience here at the back.
The question is, do you want to die 5 minutes from now? No. The answer is no. Why? Because I still want to see more of the world. I have still so much potential in me, and I think I don't want to waste that potential by dying 5 minutes from now.
That's a really great answer. Let's give a round of applause to Pao. Okay, next question would be, do you want to feel sick tomorrow? So when you talked about dying 5 minutes from now let's talk about, do you want to feel sick tomorrow? Let's hear some answers from our audience in here. How about from our delegates from Japan? Guys, the question is, do you want to feel sick tomorrow? So of course, I think everybody would answer no in this question. Now for the next slide, this is for our international delegates. We came from positive question, down to negative. Now let's go back to the positive question again. What Filipino foods are you excited to try in the following days? Because as far as I know, we will be staying in the Philippines for 4 days, right? And we'll spend the 2 days. So, what Filipino foods are you excited to try? I would like to see some hands in here. Do you have any answers? Okay, Miss Anita has an answer.
I think it's called halo.
So, why do you want to try halo-halo?
Because my Filipino friends highly recommend.
And I recommend it too as well. So, Miss Anita wants to try halo-halo. Next question, please. What experiences are you looking forward to during your stay here in the Philippines? Okay, earlier we talked about food. Now let's talk about experiences. What experiences are you looking forward to during your stay here in the Philippines? Mr. Will it be okay for you to answer the question? What experiences are you looking forward to during your stay here in the Philippines?
Well, I lived here for 4 years, so
Okay, actually that's a great question because Mr. Agar said he's already living here in the Philippines for 4 years already. So I think we're already quite familiar with the norms and cultures here. Someone who visited the Philippines for the first time, would you like to share what are the experiences you are looking forward to here in the Philippines?
Looking forward to make friends.
So that actually you're able to interact as again. I think we're on friends already. Okay, next question please. On the following days, I think later tonight, we will go to Bataan to actually visit an existing nuclear power plant there. So, for our international delegates and for everyone who hasn't visited the province of Bataan, I would like you guys to answer this question. What are your expectations when you visit Bataan?
Yeah, first time I'm doing the other 40 years ago, I went to Batam. So I expected what change and what change in Batam.
Yes, that's a really great question, answer. He said that he wants to change. Okay, next question, please. Now, how do you see yourself 1 month from now? 1 month. Any quick answer for this? What jobs do you think you are, engaged to 1 month from now? Mr. Nicash? Okay, that's my pressure. Okay, next please. How about how do you see yourself 1 year from now? I think this is the last question. 1 year from now, I think I can answer the question myself. I think I'm seeing myself 1 year from now as an activist, pushing for advocacy for transition to renewable energy. That's how I'm seeing myself 1 year from now. And one more, 10 years from now, I can see myself even more engaging in more projects, organization, in pushing the Philippines to betterment in terms of renewable energy. So, with all of this question, let us take the time to actually analyze what's the point of these questions. Why are we asking these multiple questions? Next, please. It's because of the future. Okay? So, the common ground is that I ask for something that will happen in the next few minutes, in the next few days, in the next few hours, next month, or even in the next decade. And future is actually really important to us. Next. So, other than that, future is a really broad term. So why is it a really broad term? Because there are a lot of ways to view future. There are a lot of ways to quantify the future. It can be a small quantity of time. It can be on a specific aspect, and it can even be viewed on a different angle of population. So our common ground in here is, based from your answer, we all wish to have a good future. Do you guys agree that we all wish to have a good future? Yes, I see a lot of people nodding here that we all wish to have a good future. And that is because of, according to the ideology proposed by the Greek philosopher Aristotle, it's the pursuit of happiness. Actually, as individuals, based on Aristotle, we have the innate capability, desire, and psychological desire to actually pursue for happiness, for joy. And actually, that's the reason as to why most of us here are looking forward to the future with a brighter light and brighter perspective. Now, going back to the term, future is a really broad term. From what am I supposed to wear today? Should I wear a hat? Should I eat rice? Should I ride a tricycle? Should I go to the mall today? Into really big and complex societal discussions such as how's the economic status? How are the government working on this? And what is the situation of the future? So for today, everyone, specifically, we want to talk about the future and its implementation of nuclear. How will we reshape our perspective and reaffirm our perspective regarding the implementation of nuclear energy on our future, and how will this impact our lives in the following years? So, next please. Yes, think about the clothes. Yes. So for today, once again, I am Kerwin, and I'm going to discuss shaping what awaits in the future, reaffirming youth and reform perspective on nuclear energy and industry. Okay, so on a global perspective, we all know that the government in several countries, in most of the countries, are pushing for continuous technological advancement and innovations. This is not new to us. Our system is embedded with science. And with science, we are continuously pushed to make some new innovations and make life as easy as possible. So, on a global perspective, nuclear energy is actually the result of these pursuits. So, several countries are investing heavily in nuclear energy. For example, in China, they are now building the largest number of nuclear reactors in the world and sees nuclear power as an important part of reducing carbon emissions as for them. India is also expanding nuclear generation to meet increasing electricity demand. I think this is also a problem here in the Philippines because we are really congested with population. So the United States, on the other hand, remains as the world's largest producer of nuclear electricity, while France, the Europe, continues to rely heavily on nuclear power, with nuclear energy supplying a large portion of its electricity. So, in a wider perspective, we can all agree that the implementation of nuclear energy is never new. It's not new to the civilization, and it's not new to most countries. But also, other than that, in progress, about 30 countries operate nuclear power plants, and more than 400 reactors are operating worldwide, while dozens of reactors are under construction, with most growth occurring in Asia. So this is the global perspective that we have. Now, what are the impacts? What are the negative impacts, or what are the environmental impacts of this specific adjustments? Okay, first we will dive deeper into this later, but initially to give you an overview with all those pursuits, sadly, environment and other aspects of civilization is not affected. For example, uranium mining and land degradation, radioactive waste, thermal pollution, risk of radioactive contamination during accidents, even our water consumptions are affected, and biodiversity impacts and decommissioning challenges. So, on a global perspective, here in the Philippines, let's go down, since we are already able to foresee the situation in a global perspective. Let's now localize this discussion here in the Philippines. Why do we need a nuclear Philippines? So our organization, Young Millennials for Environmental Advocacy and Network, has always pushed for this sustainable change. We have always pushed for a nuclear-free Philippines. Why? Why specifically Bataan? Bataan nuclear power plant. And these trying to actually rehabilitate this nuclear power plant is one of the concerns and environmental issues that are faced by youth here in Bataan. So next please. So we have 7 points to discuss as to why we're standing to the opposition, or as to why we support the nuclear-free movement. So the Philippines is a country that is too vulnerable to disasters. I hope that that's quite new to everyone. That's actually really, really familiar. We're actually lucky that we went here during this time without so much typhoons. But actually during this, June to July probably, after a few weeks, we are about to experience typhoons for sure. So, next please. This is an image that is captured here in the Philippines. This is the reality. This is what we are facing. This are the struggle of the people. During floods, that has become the new normal. Instead of finding a good way to actually provide solution to floods, our houses are flooded during earthquakes and during other calamities. So next please. And actually, in a global perspective, the Philippines is ranked first among countries with highest disaster risk. So as much as I want to, put the Philippines up on a higher pedestal with such international projects, I need to face the reality. We need to face the reality. This is our current situation. Next, please. So, actually, in this coming month, for this year, 2026, okay, as per PASA, we are already forecasted to expect 9 to 13 tropical cyclones, okay? This is for this year. But, on average, if you can see on the description above, on average, we have 20 tropical cyclones per year. And majority of them, actually 8 to 9 of them, lands here in the Philippines. While the other one, while the remaining ones, even though they don't land, they pull this wind called habagat, which causes heavy rains and heavy winds. Now, disaster risk is highly, okay? It is highly connected to vulnerability. And And when we say vulnerability, this is the tendency of a specific community and a specific society to experience harm in terms of disasters. So what are the factors that affects vulnerability? First, we have exposure to hazard. This is already discussed since the Philippines is actually exposed to it. Inherent weakness of the community and lack of capacity to cope or to recover. I would like to emphasize this specific part. Lack of capacity to cope or to recover. The sad reality here in the Philippines is that when we experience typhoons, when we experience earthquakes, as much as we want to recover people as soon as possible, the disaster response hasn't been developed that much yet. So that intensifies the vulnerability of many Filipino peoples, and that intensifies the struggles of those peoples that are actually affected of those disasters. Other than that, next please. Other than that, the Philippines is also part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. I think everyone is familiar with that. And just like Japan, we are also affected by several earthquakes on a daily basis. Actually, based on research and based on data, 150 minor earthquakes are experienced daily. Probably right now, we are already shaking. And that relates so much to the situation of the nuclear power plant. Because just like in Japan, okay, we have the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, which was shared yesterday. It happened and it was triggered, right, during the earthquake, and the earthquake caused a tsunami. And that is not far, okay? That situation is not new to the Philippines. And then by now, we have an earthquake. Actually, recently, we just have an earthquake, which devastated a lot of people. So, the question here is, the Fukushima Daiichi disaster caused severe harm. So, why are we trying to, put ourselves in the same harm in the Philippines, knowing that we are in the same situation, same status of the specific country involved? Okay, so that's the first point. Okay? The first point is the disaster risk. Next is high cost, long delays, and misplaced priority. We will go there after a few days. Actually cost $2.3 billion US back in 1980. So that's in 1980, okay? The value of money has increased drastically already. That is already equivalent to 6.8 billion US dollars today. Let me repeat, okay? 6.8 billion US dollars today. So it's indeed a high cost. So actually, it took over 30 years for the Philippines to fully pay off the nuclear power plant. And you know what's sad? It did not benefit us at all. The power plant was established with that huge sum of money and we paid it, but in terms of commercialization, in terms of producing electricity, it did not provide us at all. So the payment for the nuclear power plant lasted until April 2007. So imagine the people took the burden of paying the $2.3 billion US dollars using their taxes, using their hard work money just to pay off a non-functioning nuclear power plant. That is not okay. That should not be normal. Next, please. So, other than that, the construction of this power plants actually takes a long time. So first, for example, the Renewable nuclear power plant took about 7 years, okay? The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant took 12 years to construct just the first phase, okay? And for the nuclear power plant before, it took 8 years just to build. Imagine spending a huge sum of money just for 8 years, and it won't even be functional by that time. And other than that, we're talking about misplaced priorities. The $2.3 billion before, imagine if it was allocated to more urgent causes. This is the situation here in the Philippines. We have slums, these are the sad reality of the classrooms, and these are the hospital situations. So later on, we will dive deeper into this. But mind you, we have more urgent priorities that we need to focus on. That is our goal in the government, to actually provide solution to those struggles that are actually experienced by the people. So our goal, we want the government to reassemble priorities and focus on actual struggles faced by the public. So next we have fuel dependency and environmental costs. So nuclear uses uranium, and in the Philippines, we do not have uranium. So basically, we need to import those uranium to other countries. So uranium requires mining sites, which has negative impact to the environment, and that's actually true. So for example, in Pinyon Plain Mine, okay, this is located in Arizona, United States. This started back in 2023. I think it sits less than 10 miles south of Grand Canyon National Park, and it is actively mining uranium on 2023, last December, December 2023. Okay, next please. So this is the image of the mining site. So what are the negative impacts of this uranium mining site in the specific state? So aquifer risk. The mine sits directly above the Red Wall aquifer, the sole drinking water of the source of Halusapay tribe. Okay, there's a tribe, a native tribe living there, and the feeder of the springs inside the Grand Canyon. So basically, due to the chemicals released by the mining, the sole drinking water was penetrated with foreign chemicals that is not safe for drinking. Next, other than that, we also have surging toxin levels. And we also have groundwater pumping, wherein over 80 million gallons of contaminated groundwaters have been pumped out of the mine shaft to prevent flooding. So this water is stored in open air surface ponds, creating exposure to hazard for locals. So this is actually really dangerous, especially if you're living in your area. Next, please. So on a global perspective, So on a huge global perspective, it is not okay. The impacts of nuclear power plants are widely visible, especially in terms of chemical spills. So we will not allow, as youths and as members, as a community in Bataan, for this hazardous risk to actually exist in our country. Next, please. National priorities and social realities. Let's now dive deeper into those images that I have portrayed earlier. 400,000 bed deficit. So the Department of Health, our agency that is dedicated for health, faces a massive deficit of 400,000 hospital beds to meet the baseline medical needs of the population. Next, please. These are the situations that are experienced by many marginalized people on public hospitals. Imagine you are terminally ill, then you have to line up for hours just to get medication, just to get health assistance. So, if those funds that we will dedicate for building nuclear power plant is dedicated to this more urgent situations, more urgent scenarios, I think we can actually provide solutions for actual struggles that are facing our people. Next, please. We also have shortages in classroom teachers. These are one of the examples of those. Next, please. And poverty in rural and coastal communities. These are the images of the fisher folks fighting for fish in the seas, just to provide income for their families. And 13.6 million rural poor. So individuals living in rural areas represent the largest segment of the poor population in the Philippines. And mind you, okay, the Bataan nuclear power plant is considered, the province is considered under rural area. So basically, those 13.6 million rural poor, most of them, or not most of them, but some of the population resides in Bataan. So if the risk happens, imagine who will be sacrificed? Those people in the marginalized sector. So this is an image. So other consideration is corruption and safety risk. This is also our reason as to why we don't want this inclusion. So the flood control scandal. I think this is really prominent in this case. So basically, audit reports from the Commission audit have flagged tens of billions of pesos in flood control drainage projects with issues such as delays and use funds and questionable implementation. Imagine we funded billions, the people funded billions to mitigate the flood here in the Philippines. Yet what happened? Many corporations, many corrupt individuals corrupted the funds and actually created substandard facilities that drowned many people and pushed the casualties through the floods. So this is an example. Rather than that, more corruption scandals as for now. Okay, so going back to this analysis part. In Global Rule of Law Index, the Philippines ranks 84 of 143 countries for regulatory enforcement. Like I said, as much as I want to bring up the country into a higher platform, into a higher sentiment, this is the reality that we are currently facing here in the country. And what's the function of this of the nuclear power plant? If we are to implement such big projects, such big risks, there is no room for error. So next we have geopolitical and energy dependence. So geopolitics, this is basically the study of how geography affects countries' politics, foreign policy, and international power. So an example of geopolitical wars, the fight between the US and Iran is actually an example. And how does this affect nuclear power plants? Developing Asian nations cannot easily opt for nuclear energy without tying themselves to major global power. So, for instance, Russia, for example, one of the world power, is actually producing over 40% of the world's uranium. And with this, they're able to conquer and to engage more superiority with other countries that are dependent on this type of supply. So let's talk climate solutions without nuclear energy. So Paraguay, Iceland, and Albania are really good examples for this. So other than that, the Philippines is also uniquely positioned to benefit from renewable energy. Why? Because we have strong sunlight year round, coastal wind corridors, and geothermal abundance. So these are some of the proposals that can be implemented in the Philippines for renewable energy. And it is important for us that if we could acknowledge that nuclear power plant actually reduces carbon emissions. That's true. However, if we could push for other alternatives that actually cost the same, but it's not harm the environment, that would be much better. So these are the 7 points that we are standing to as to why we oppose to the nuclear power plant and we push for nuclear free. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ruben. For now, we'd like to call on Ray Dorian, our next.
Thank you so much, Ruben, for that very detailed discussion. So, our discussing will be very quick. So, it's about the solutions, our solutions, and our alternatives. Next slide, please. I want us to make a decision for a safer future. Currently, there are many narratives going on about nuclear energy, and as a youth, we are very disagreeing on this because we know that a safer future does not mean that we have to rely on nuclear energy. There are many things around us that we can use and we can harness, we can maximize the nature, everything around us can be used, and it is our resources that is more reliable than the nuclear energy that they are pushing us right now. Next slide. So we said that to truly save lives, we must transition immediately to energy systems that are inherently safe, decentralized, and renewable. Next slide, please. So this is the Pacific Ring of Fire. As you can see, most of the countries that are here today relies on the Pacific Ring of Fire. So if we are pushing for nuclear energy, it is not safe for us, and we know that. We all know that we have we have lots of studies going on about how it is unsafe when we're in the civilian fire, about how it has, and about how eruptive it is, and how more active volcanoes. And if you are already that unsafe, why would you go to an unsafer future? Next slide. Yes. So of course, what do we want? We want a community-based renewable energy system. So it is community-based. Like we said, we want a safer, decentralized energy system that is suitable for every community. So how do we do that? We do that by just transition. So we go from harmful and dangerous energies to sustainable and real safe energy for the future. But how do we do that? So of course, first, we have to rely on renewable resources. Using renewable energy to ensure the safety of the environment as well as the safety of the people. We know that the nation has been here longer than the land of us. We know that. So we have to harness those and maximize that resources. Next, we have to demand government accountability and include community in creating an energy that is suitable for this. So we, of course, when we say we want a safer and more cost-effective energy, it demands accountability of the government because who will maximize those and who will manage those? Of course, aside from the community, we need funds and we need support from the government. And next, of course, we need regional collaboration and solidarity. Across the borders and across generations, solidarity and collaboration harness the movement that leads to milestones and success in our sustainable future. We had about that yesterday when the youth from the Pacific region shared what we had the movements going on in the countries, the milestones and successes that they had about how important it is for us to be active into fighting for a more sustainable and safer future. Next slide, please. So, of course, we will just reiterate. So, as technology advances, we often forget that nature is one thing that has been constant in our whole life. It has been there since we began. So, of course, we have to harness that solar power, clean energy, and hydropower. So, we always have our choice. These are possible with enough willpower and care for our future and environment instead of profit. Next slide, please. So, of course, we have to encourage government accountability. Governments must be held accountable for unsafe energy projects, but communities must be empowered to shape their energy future. Participation ensures transparency, justice, and sustainability. Of course, we have to reiterate. The government right now, they are the ones pushing for nuclear energy. And we have to be accountable for it. And aside from accountability, we have to take responsibility into giving us the energy that we deserve, the power plants that we need, what the community is from harnessing, and what is the innovation. Next slide. So, of course, we have regional collaboration and solidarity. No single nation can face the climate crisis alone, of course. When the nature is destroyed, when the nature is destroyed, it comes across the Asia Pacific. Regional solidarity means sharing technology, financing, and assistance strategies to accelerate the renewable transition. And through this discussion like this, we are slowly ensuring a future that is safer for our generations. Our solidarity has a long history. This year marks the 33rd Nukes Asia Forum, and as we build across borders, campaigns for renewable security and anti-nuclear advocacy, we are slowly nearing the future that is safe for every generation. So, of course, we have to commend everyone for being here today. Thank you so much. Again, we have a decision for our safer future. The choice is not between energy and no energy. It is what we choose. We must choose the safer energy, the safer energy that we need and we can harness and maximize to our future. That is all. Sentinels for Environmental Protection and Regeneration, or SEPGEN. As you know, the youth are inheritors of risk, and they are the ones primarily shifting the narrative from fear to the future, and especially important in this age of disinformation. And of course, as Ray said, they are the connectors to global solidarity. So with that, let me call on to give a response. Attorney Juanjo Torbillas, Legislative Director of the Office of Senator Rizal Riveros, Senate of the Philippines.
Thank you for a good morning. Yeah. Actually, that was a part of my day that I was really afraid of because in the office po, I'm more of a writer, not really a talker po. So, yeah. So please bear with me. I think I have only 5 minutes. So, yun nga, I've started the timer po for all of our friends from Japan po. Konnichiwa, minasan, hajime mashite, yoroshiku onegai shimasu. Yeah. Nihongon, boku no Nihongo chigau. Anyway, yeah. So I guess I have to react to what was just said. So I guess the first thing that was asked was, where do we see ourselves 1 year from now, 1 month from now? So on my part naman, to react to that first, I really, from 1 year from now, I really want to spend more time in Bataan, Morong, because I guess one of the reasons they sent me here was that my grandma was actually born in Morong. So if you're from there, kung meron kayo, I'm sure may na-meet na kayo doon, Baguio, kasi I know yung family namin doon ay nagbalot ng onte, and there's a timer now. So I guess I should get back to the point. So to get back to the point, and I have to make it quick. Ever since the atom was used in anger, a long time ago before I was born, I guess the world has lived in fear. Fear of global war, fear of the end of the world. I guess it was worse back in the 1960s, but we still have that existential fear now. Even when you think about using nukes for lines, power, there's still fear. Fear, what if something might go wrong? Fear that something that is contained might be set loose, right? So there's always fear. It's this fear that is at the heart of this. And I guess this isn't really my speech to give. It's my boss's speech, but it's the same fear that kind of knocked her out of her comfortable middle class life. It's the fear that made her take to the streets. It's the fear that got her involved with politics, social issues. So with respect to that, in my boss, he said, Risa, you really don't have to preach to the choir, because on this point, on this issue, her faith, her stance has never, in all the years I have known her from in fact, I first met her in 2005. From 2005 until now, this is the one issue that she has never wavered on. So, where are we right now? There is a bill right now, I think going to the House, Congress, Senate, na it's not a direct attempt to revive the plant, but it's like they are trying to take the indirect, approach. It's like a bill to re-examine, to study. Bento is practice. But yun nga, it's to re-examine. So I think they're trying to get us there step by step. So right now, to reopen the issue, to reopen, to take a first step, to study, and once like the study turns out to be positive, to like take further steps. But yun nga, with that said, I can reassure all of you that the senator and our office will point out that perhaps this isn't the path our country should partake. So just to share a bit more about what I do for SEN, I'm also part of the team which also studies tawag doon, sorry, I'm really not a talker. Energy policy. So what we're trying to do is, what we have always believed is that, if you were to build a plant, a nuclear plant, it's such an intensive use of resources, tawag doon, capital. So it's like you're concentrating it there. But what we want to do is, we all think that tawag doon, power should be spread out as widely as we can. Diba? So not just here, but also when we tawag doon, generate electricity. So what we're trying to push now really is to really move away from these centralized systems and to a more decentralized framework to power microgrids or communities, things, going in that, direction. So I guess to like wrap this all up, since I think I've gone over time. Sorry, if you need any help, because there are bills, they aren't being discussed now, but there are bills being discussed in the House, Senate, that are seeking to rekindle an interest in nuclear. So if we can help you point out the risks, point out why this isn't the road this country should take, we are more than happy to partner with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney, for your response. Before we go on a short break, I'd like to thank our keynote speakers again. It was very intentional, the decision of our host of the Nukes Asia Forum Philippines, the organizers also, to really put the visions and the demands of the youth as our framing. And the youth has always been a source of clarity for these opportunities to engage with one another. And so we're very proud that our young people have very well articulated the complexities, the intersectionalities, and the solutions for this. We're going to go on a 10-minute break, but when we go back, we'll show a short video followed by our first discussion cluster. We'll have 4 discussion clusters today on security, economics, finance and governance, urgency of alternatives versus false solutions. But for now, I'd like to close off this morning's opening session, and then we'll go on a break, and then please come back within 10 minutes. Thank you, everyone.
As my colleague said, we're going to go back so it's now 10:25. We'll be back by in 10 minutes, so 10:35.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, I would say we probably go to Japan at least once. Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Kuya Bayan, for another performance. You'll hear more from them again later today. Is everyone back from the break? Are we good? Are we good? Alright. So before we begin the discussion busters, I'd like to welcome more organizations who are here with us today. First, the Center for Disaster Preparedness Foundation. We also have Noy Lataan, former Councilor Raya Bongo. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. Alright, we also have Stop the War, International Peace Bureau. Let's give them a round of applause again. We have Lupa Kabahay. And finally, we have Workers for People's Liberation for WWPN. Okay, alright, so now we're going to show a video of making Asian struggle against nuclear. Thank you.
My name is Max Lee, and I'm based in Australia. I work with a large national environment group here called the Australian Conservation Foundation on Nuclear Issues. And it's a great pleasure to be able to send the wishes of so many activists, so many groups, so many affected communities and people in Australia to the Nukes Asia Forum. This is a really important forum. It's a really constructive initiative that brings people together right across our special part of the world to talk about stories, shared struggles, solidarity, and strategies to build a nuclear-free future. In Australia, we're facing particular challenges around constraining and testing halting uranium mining. We have the world's largest resource of uranium, which is the primary fuel for nuclear power and nuclear weapons. We want to keep it where it's safest, deep in the ground. We're trying to stop new mines, we're monitoring existing mines, we're cleaning up old mines. We work closely with First Nations people and affected communities and workers' organisations. We're also speaking routinely with our government about trying to introduce transparency and responsibility to radioactive waste management. And we're deeply concerned about Australia's increasing engagement with the Defence Act called AUKUS, Australia, United Kingdom, US, that involves nuclear submarines patrolling the Indian Ocean base at a port near Perth. That brings risks of safety, security, nuclear weapons, nuclear waste. We're working hard on that issue and we're looking forward to talking with people about our shared concerns about strategies for building a peaceful Asia-Pacific region. There's no place in our region for nuclear. We had a big win last year at our Australian federal election in 2025, and there was a very clear choice. One party advocating domestic nuclear power, the other advocating renewables, and people power defeated nuclear power. That's an important lesson, an important reminder, and an important thing to take forward and to drive our work for a cleaner, safer, nuclear-free Asia Pacific. I look forward to joining you at the Nukes Asia Forum, and I'm really privileged and pleased to be able to be there in person. And for all the activists, all the advocates, all the affected communities in Australia, we thank you for your work. We wish you every success. Solidarity.
My name is Renewable, as an executive director of Hockey. The Indonesia Government under President Prabowo is bound to be planning to continue the nuclear power plant development agenda, and has included nuclear power plant as part of effort to utilize mineral resources to balance and achieve the decarbonization or net zero emission target by 2060. The two main sites being prepared are Dewasa Island in Bangka Belitung and Serasa Island in Flores, Kalimantan. From the very beginning, WAPI has consistently positioned itself as an organization defending ecological safety with environmental living space, rejecting high-risk energy solutions such as nuclear power plants and advocating for just, safe, democratic, and renewable energy that's going to be positioned for Indonesia actually possesses immense renewable energy potential without the need for nuclear power. Using nuclear power is not only illogical in the context of the energy transition, but also threatens people livelihoods and safety, particularly in Indonesia, which is a great region situated at the intersection of three tectonic plates. We also mentioned the Indonesian government how they just plan to develop our plan to nuclear-free Indonesia, nuclear-free Asia.
Hello, my name is Mayu from CNIC, short for Citizen Nuclear Information Center in Japan. CNIC is a student think tank dedicated to securing a safe nuclear-free world. They also publish an English web magazine with Tokyo for global audience. 15 years have passed since the Fukushima accident, yet the disaster is far from over. The nuclear emergency status remains active, and still over 20,000 people are forced to live at the facility. With nuclear ground commissioning, the site caused an unprecedented amount of radioactive waste. Meanwhile, vast amount of contaminated water continues to be dumped into the Pacific Ocean. The accident has proven an undeniable reality. The ingredients cannot coexist with nuclear energy. Yet, ignoring public anxiety, the government is setting up to maximize nuclear power. We must never ever repeat this tragic mistake. We must reduce an energy system that relies on sacrifice and fears of others. Let's work together in solidarity to realize a fair and safe nuclear-free world. Thank you.
I send greetings from South Korea. My name is Esther Yu. I work with the Korean Federation for Environmental Women, and I'm an anti-nuclear activist. After the impeachment, a new government has taken office in South Korea, but the nuclear situation remains deeply concerning. There are attempts to revise the Korean-US nuclear agreement to open the way for uranium enrichment and reprocessing. Some politicians are even calling for South Korea's own nuclear weapons. Nuclear expansion is also continuing in energy policy. The government is using the climate crisis, energy security, and AM-driven electricity demand as excuses to promote new reactors and SMRs. Lifetime extensions of aging reactors are moving forward, and the science solution for new reactors and SMRs is underway. SMRs are being promoted even before proper safety regulations are in place. These expansions create more nuclear waste, more transmission lines, and further delays the transition to renewable energy. But we are not stopping. More than 1,100 citizens have joined a lawsuit to stop the lifetime expansion of Korean nuclear. On March 11, at the rally marking 15 years since the Fukushima disaster, 3,110 citizens declared their commitment to nuclear peace-out. And more than 1,000 people marched toward the presidential office. Ahead of the local election, citizens across the country raised their voices and demanded that candidates commit to nuclear peace-out. Our struggle in South Korea is connected to struggles across Asia. A nuclear-free Asia and a nuclear-free world are possible. We the people, our struggle will never be defeated. Let us build this future together, starting now.
Greetings to our fellow anti-nuclear advocates and people's movements across Asia. We speak to you today from the Philippines, where a dangerous monument to corruption, injustice, and nuclear risk still stands. The nuclear power plant. Built during the dictatorship of Ferdinand Marcos Sr., the nuclear power plant became a symbol of how political power and corporate interests can be placed above the welfare of the people. Today, the nuclear trend is re-emerging in the Philippines. Under the banner of development and energy security, the government is aggressively promoting nuclear energy, including proposals to rehabilitate the DNPP and construct new nuclear facilities across the country. But the ant has never remained silent. For more than 4 decades, workers, farmers, fisherfolks, youth, women, faith leaders, scientists, environmental advocates, and local communities have stood united against the nuclear threat. The spirit of resistance lives on today. As the nuclear-free Bataan movement, we continue to oppose all attempts to rehabilitate the BNP and expand nuclear energy in the Philippines. We reject false narrative that nuclear power is a solution to the climate and energy crisis. A truly just energy future can be built on radioactive risk, environmental destruction, and the sacrifice of vulnerable communities.
We are proud to announce that Taiwan is the first non-nuclear country in Asia. This is committed to a sustainable and new future economy.
At this point, we're just gonna quickly award certificates to our keynote speakers. Can we ask Daisuke Sato and Veronica Calvin to come in front and assist? And then we call Irving Mansua from Young Battalions. And now we call on Ray Florian from Second. Thank you to our keynote speakers and to Veronica and Salas. So at this point, we are going into our first of 4 clusters. We are going to ask our cluster speakers to sit at the stage. And then after the presentations, we will have a brief open forum. So to start this off, we will be having the security cluster. So we will have 2 speakers. We have Professor Roland Simbulan of the University of the Philippines, University of the Philippines, sorry. And we have the Global Nuclear Resurgence Landscape by Wade Sweeney from the Australian Conservation Foundation and Don't Decline. Can we ask them to take the stage while I read their bio? So Professor Roland Simbulan is a retired already as full-time faculty of the University of the Philippines, but he held the position of UP Centennial Professorial Chair and also as the Chair of the Department of Social Sciences. He was also the Vice Chancellor for Planning and Development. He is the sole author of 9 books in Philippine foreign policy, Philippine Relations. Among the most notable are The Basis of Our Security, Forging a Nationalist Foreign Policy, which was translated into Japanese and published and distributed in Japan. Simbulan served as the national chairman of the Nuclear Free Philippines Coalition from the 1988 to 2005, and he's currently the chair, he is the vice chair of the Center for People's Empowerment and Governance, a public policy think tank. Professor Roland is also a lifetime member of the prestigious Honor Society Phi Kappa Phi and the Pi Gamma International Honor Society for Excellence in the Social Sciences. Joining me will be Dave Sweeney. Dave Sweeney has been active in resource, indigenous and nuclear issues for 4 decades through his work with the media, trade unions, and environmental groups. He leads the Australian Conservation Foundation Nuclear Free Campaign and is active in the Global Climate Network and was a co-founder of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons, which was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017. So maybe hear first from Prof. Roland, followed by Dave.
Good morning. Magandang umaga sa inyo lahat. I was given the topic nuclear weapons and human security to be discussed during this panel, and I selected a few slides for this topic, nuclear weapons and human security. This slide is a poster of the Nuclear Security Coalition, which was an active anti-nuclear coalition in the Philippines in the 80s, especially in the 80s, against the nuclear power plant and against nuclear weapons and US military bases. This poster, as you can see, actually depicts the topic about nuclear weapons and
human security. This was, if I'm not mistaken, a winner in the poster making contest that we organized in the 80s. And it was won by a high school student. I forgot the school for which that student was studying at that time. Anyway, it won the prize because our topic and theme was about nuclear weapons and human security in the Philippines. So you can see it there, depicted nuclear weapons and the issue of human security, as a threat to human security of Filipinos and of humankind. In this slide, I included my email address, no? Because I want to share my, actually I have my last book, Nuclear Free Nation, is about our struggle in the Philippines. No? The nuclear free movement has copies of it, but I was told by several bookshops in Manila that it is already out of print. No? Now, you can take a photograph of the email that I have there, because if you send me an email, I can send you an electronic copy of the book. No, my book, which is already out of print, titled Nuclear Free Nation. And it has a subtopic, the power of the people versus nuclear power in the Philippines. So that is the subtitle of Nuclear Free Nation. So I can send, if you email to me, I can send you back an electronic copy of this book, because it is out of print. If you try to order it in bookshops here online, they will tell you it's already out of print. So I'll just send you a copy, email me as well. Anyway, if we move to the next. Actually, this diagram here shows the self-perpetuating military-industrial complex, of which the principal model is the United States today. The United States of America, which has become the #1 exporter of weapons, in the world, second to none, is actually based on a war economy. And this is why it is always involved in what many writers refer to as forever wars. And if you look at the history of the United States since it was born 250 years ago, it has been an endless record. It has the most number of wars in which the United States has been involved in practically almost all the continents of the world. And perhaps the irony of it is that no less than President Trump today has officially made that as part of the perpetuating legacy of the United States. That's why, it's U.S. Department of Defense is now the U.S. Department of War. So it's now official that they are the #1 war-mongering country in the world that relies on weapons that are developed by its economy. And, well, of course, this is not the topic that I was asked to discuss this morning, but I think the United States is trying to initiate what is referred to as the Pax Silica, initiative in the Philippines. You see this diagram here of the military-industrial complex of the United States economy. It is now trying to regionalize this self-perpetuating growth and war machine in the Philippines. So we are awaiting the signing in Washington, D.C. of an agreement where practically 6,000 hectares of our country here in Luzon are going to be devoted to this military-industrial complex led by the United States, hosted by the Philippines, and including 14 other Asia-Pacific countries, including Australia, by the way, which has joined the PAC-SILICA. And it also includes Canada, it includes several European NATO countries. And in this so-called PAC-SILICA, they want to integrate an economic and military complex where they will assure that this war, this builder and creator of weapons, and we do not know if in the future including nuclear weapons, they want to regionalize this with the assurance of a supply chain, including raw materials, to be initiated and given by the host country, the Philippines and other participating nations. As I said, right now there are 14. Now, just yesterday, if you have followed the news here in the Philippines, the president of Germany visited our country. And he has accepted the invitation to join this PAC-SILICA here in the Philippines because it's actually a joint venture, economic and military venture, including, by the way, Israel, which is going to contribute its technology, especially technology in AI and technology in drone manufacturing. So that is the purpose of that PAC-SILICA. And I think in the coming months, you are going to hear more of it because they're still going to officially sign the agreement in Washington, D.C., probably by or before the end of this year. So we are worried that this weapon system complex, military economic complex, that's why I refer to it as a self-perpetuating one, is also, and will also be a cooperation on nuclear weapons technology. Because some of the countries involved here in this PAC-SILICA agreement are nuclear armed countries. Next please. Now here's a diagram of countries that are armed with nuclear weapons today. This is based on the data of the SIPRI, Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. And you can see the top country that has the most number of nuclear weapons is Russia, and followed by the United States and then China. And if you go down this list, you will not see Iran. Iran, we have been accusing of bombing Iran because it's supposed to have nuclear weapons or developing nuclear weapons. Actually, if there's going to be a list where Iran would be at the top, it's going to be a list of assassinated nuclear scientists. Because Israel, especially through its Mossad operatives, have killed so many Iranian scientists, no? Not just because they are physicists or have an expertise in nuclear technology, but because they are suspected of probably helping Iran develop nuclear weapons. They're being killed left and right, even in their own country. Some of them actually were assassinated through poisoning during their attendance to international conferences in Europe, especially Switzerland. No? During conferences that they attended as nuclear scientists or as physicists. Okay, next please. Here, this is a comparison of the top nuclear armed countries based on 2025 data of the SIPRI, also Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. And comparably, you can see the top countries with nuclear weapons today. And they also happen to be the countries with the largest and strongest economies in the world. Now, the fact that there are so many war machines, no? So many weaponry, conventional weapons, also means that they have larger defense and military budgets. It also means that they can also shift to nuclear technology, nuclear weapons technology easily, no? Especially if they have very part of it. And it includes, of course, stockpiles of if we're talking about weapons, these may be stockpiles that will be using the facilities in former U.S. military bases in the Philippines, including U.S. sites here. Because the advantage of, I think this is why they are putting this up in the Philippines, because of its geographic location. As a forward base to American military operations here in the Indo-Pacific and facing towards the Middle East. No? That's why I included in the design here the arrangement in the military industrial complex in the United States. Because as I see it, the arrangement will not be far from that kind of operation, where you have business, actually that's the cover for this arrangement. Some say that it is their answer to the initiative of China of building a BRI, some say that, no? But this one is also a response to that, an American version, but with a military configuration. Because the U.S. war economy today is like a war machine that produces so much weapons that it needs to market this and to have this used by countries to which it is credited as a merchant of death. That's why the United States has become the #1 merchant of death in the world. No? And it needs, I think the reason why they concocted this is their problem of supply chains to sustain this kind of structure. Because there are certain materials that they use for weapon systems, including those that they would need for nuclear weapons, that they may be needed. And that's why they are inviting countries that have some access to these rare ingredients, such as rare earth, for example, so that they can be assured of the supply chains for developing these weapons, including weapon systems.
student? Any other?
I have a question for Professor Roland Zimmerman. Thank you for your presentation. It's really warning for us the development of nuclear weapons in the Philippines. My question is, as you may have known, the first island chain, the security. So this kind of collective defense, not only by Philippines, also Taiwan, Japan, maybe South Korea, also join this first island chain security against China obligations. So, do you know in these nuclear weapons, how about Taiwan and Japan and South Korea role in this project?
Yeah. The countries that seem to be immediately involved in this initiative, what they call Pax Silica initiative, which, by the way, I always emphasize is being US led, because they are already, even this early, they are already floating that it is our Asian version of the NATO. No? For me, the fact that Germany is being invited into it and has signified its intention to be part of it is an indication that it is leaning towards that. So they want to cover this or camouflage this as an economic arrangement. This to disguise its military character. No? And if you are involved in military manufacturing as a war machine, it is not far-fetched that you will also be involved in developing nuclear weapons. No? It is not far-fetched. Because many of the countries that are being invited and are involved in this Pax-Silica initiative are already nuclear armed countries. So I think we should prepare for that, being a part of the Indo-Pacific area, and in which our countries will be involved or invited into this so-called Pax-Silica initiative. I am asking our friends, actually, because they might have better inside information about some of our anti-war, anti-nuclear friends who are based in North America. I've been communicating with them and requesting them for more information that they might be able to get through their use of Freedom of Information Act legislation in their countries, so that we can have a better picture of this so-called plan of the United States that they call the Pax Silica initiative.
We can entertain 2 more questions.
Good morning. My question is addressed to Sir Sweeney. Sir, may I ask if you believe that SMRs is the solution for climate crisis?
Is the question, do I believe SMRs are a solution
For climate crisis.
No, my answer absolutely and unreservedly is no. SMRs are unproven. They are a dangerous distraction. We have real and proven solutions that can meet our energy needs. There is a pressing energy crisis, there is a pressing climate crisis, and there is energy poverty. Those 3 things mean that we need to change the way that we generate energy on this earth. And we need to deploy proven systems of renewables which are decentralized, safer, they are less vulnerable, and they are far cheaper, and they are far quicker. I believe that SMRs are a theoretical distraction for for those who are designing them and an actual piece of convenience for the nuclear industry. SMRs enable them to pick up an eraser and wipe out 6 decades of mistakes, underperformance, waste, and overpromise, and say, forget that, trust us. SMRs are so much better, not small modular reactors. I don't see them having a place in the energy future. Yes, thank you.
Sir Shimula, do you want to jump in very quickly?
I just wanted to add about the question on SMRs. Because these small modular reactors have actually already been widely used, especially during the Cold War, especially by countries that have developed these nuclear ballistic submarines. You know. And here we have 2 countries especially leading the development of ballistic submarines, namely Russia and the United States. And of course, a few European countries. And the reason why this is what they are trying to market now is because there is, as Dave had discussed, there is a downward trend towards the market for nuclear power plants. Unit trend because of the renewables. So the price of renewables, and in fact, I was telling Dave earlier that in our household, we installed, we had our house installed with solar panels. And since then, our monthly electric bill from the Renewable is only 0 pesos. Imagine, dati 5,000 a month. No? Our neighbor, which installed solar panels a month ahead of us, has been paying only first month 300 pesos and then second month 150 pesos for their Renewable. Well, in our neighborhood, almost 4,000, 5,000 peso monthly electric bills being paid for the Renewable.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's have an
Yeah. So we'll just invite the last 2 ladies. Can we just can you both ask it? Yeah. Just ask it, then you answer. So after
I'm just thinking, is there a way or possibilities to prevent it from further development or starting to die? And what actions could be undertaken by organizations who don't like it to happen?
can you have the same question?
Hello, I'm a representative from Taiwan. My name is Anita. I want to first thank you so much for bringing your insights. Especially, I find that there's a commonality regarding the intersection between environmental protection and security, nuclear power, and nuclear weapons. And especially for pointing out that the top 3 countries of nuclear weapon would be both America, Russia, and China. As you understand, Taiwan is situated right in the middle of the geopolitical conflict between two of the 3 biggest nuclear weapon holders of the world, the US and China. Even though, as you mentioned, that renewable energy is in China. We cannot ignore the fact that nuclear weapons is still very much developing in China. So there is a complexity that I would like to bring to this discussion, especially on security, because it can be as easy as we want to understand it as a dichotomy, U.S.-China dichotomy, just because. And I've lived in the U.S. I am more than aware of the capitalistic, imperialistic, expansionist agenda of the U.S. But as a Taiwanese, I am firsthand experiencing the exact same imperialistic, expansionistic, capitalistic, actually, in reality, agenda of China, the China Communist Party. So there is this really, really delicate texture to this discussion, because the aggressor in the Taiwanese context is not explicitly the US, it is very much China. So as Taiwan being the first no-nuclear country in Asia, as well as very advocating for anti-nuclear power, anti-nuclear weapon, and being being the actual victim of two nuclear holders. Not only do I want to bring this complexity to this discussion, to this platform, but to ask for your expertise. How to, should we say balance? Is that even a word for it? Is that even the right, maybe acknowledgement, maybe deeper contemplation to this discussion? Because just because Taiwan is under the immediate military threat from China, therefore needing support from our Asian partners, was understanding that there is maybe a U.S. interest lies in it. China is very much a military and security threat to the partners in Asia as well. Do we ignore that fact because it can be a U.S. agenda? Sorry, this is a long discussion, and I would love to hear from your insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a wonderful question, and I hope we get a chance to discuss it with a little bit of the time and the sensitivity and the depth that it requires after this. But in short, I would say that yes, like Taiwan is in an exceptional place because your country is the front line of the globe's greatest geopolitical shift and context. My country is entering into a military relationship with two nuclear weapon states in order to contain China's expansiveness. Even though China's our biggest trading partner, even though we supply the raw materials and the minerals to China. But every element of this relationship and the situation we find ourselves in has complexities and inconsistencies. But I don't think it's either complex or inconsistent in relation to nuclear. Earlier, our colleague from the Citizens Nuclear Information Centre in Tokyo in a video statement said human beings can't coexist with nuclear energy because of all the risks and all the long-term implications. I, from the ICANN perspective, strongly believe that nor can human beings coexist with nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are weapons of mass and indiscriminate destruction. They are effectively terrorist weapons. They do not discriminate between civilians and combatants. They are of mass and indiscriminate destruction, and they are weapons that are appalling and are now probably illegal in international humanitarian law. And there is a saying that there is no right hands for the wrong weapons. And these are the wrong weapons. So it doesn't matter if it's Washington, Beijing, Paris, Moscow, no one should have that button that can threaten everything that's been, everything that is, and everything that could ever be. that is beyond one nation's right in its national security interests. So I say absolutely no role for nuclear weapons for anyone. And nuclear power is like smoking. If you're in it, give it up quickly. Every day you're not doing it helps. And if you haven't started, don't start. I hope that helps a little bit, but I'm very aware that there are deep nuances, and those nuances are even stronger when it's your home, when it's your family, when it's your culture.
Well, my response to that particular question is that the word deterrence has always been the magic word used by countries who have decided to develop nuclear weapons. And what do they mean by deterrence? Deterrence really means that it gives them the assurance, well, supposedly the security guarantee, that they will not be attacked because that weapon will threaten that country that has the intention of attacking them. And because of the nuclear weapon, that country will be deterred. But actually, we look at it and reflect on it. The recent US-Israel war against Iran has actually demolished that idea of deterrence. Because most of the countries in the Middle East that allow their territories to be used as US military bases, or even to be used by Israel as to have access in their bases, instead of being given that assurance of guarantee, because when they decided to have those bases in their territory, they believed that it would be deterrence. But during the exchanges, the war, the recent war, they were attacked. The territories were attacked. Those bases were, many of the US bases in these countries like Qatar, United Arab Emirates, etc., they were destroyed. And many American soldiers were killed. So where is the deterrence in those countries? Well, these governments decided to have them there, to host them, to protect their country. So maybe that is an eye-opener, and this idea of deterrence has to be re-examined. There was a question earlier about, I think, more about the how to stop the toxicity. And I'm glad it was asked because in anything that we are confronted in, I'm always reminded by my best strategist, philosopher, Sun Tzu. You know? Because if you want to defeat an adversary, you should not only know more about yourself and your capability, but especially about your adversary. And that's why we should get more information, you know, about these details of the Pacific initiative that they are planning to have collectively. You know, because if we get enough information and data, I think we can analyze it better and strategize to counter this toxic initiative. Thank you.
Okay. With that, let me close up our first cluster. I would like to ask our organizers from NNAF representatives to help us give the certificates for our speakers for cluster 1. Okay, so let me call on Derek Capit and Cora followers. Okay. For this segment, being a veteran, first we're going to do the certificate for Mr. Daisy for participation, yes. And for this segment, there is a special plaque for from Ron Sibulat being a veteran of the anti-nuclear. Yes. Nuclear struggle. Thank you again to our Mr. Ross speakers. Again, thanks so much. We're asking our cluster 2 speakers to get ready. Okay.
Thank you again to our Cluster 1 speakers, Professor Sibulan, Mr. David Sweeney. Now we're going to move to Cluster 2, which is about economics, finance, and governance. And it's really, we have one speaker, it's going to be a discussion on what actually enables, right, this race for the expansion of nuclear energy, especially in Asia. So our speaker will be Anthony Matsuko, co-director and Secretary General of the Citizens Nuclear Information Center. He worked in the financial sector before joining CNIC as a staff member in 2012. He has served as a member of the Nuclear Energy Subcommittee under the Advisory Committee for Natural Resources and Energy, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry since 2020. He also serves as a member of the Citizens Commission on Nuclear Energy and a board member of Green Alliance Japan, with research interests including nuclear policy and nuclear non-proliferation issues. He holds a BA in Liberal Arts from International Christian University and an MA in Public Policy from Waseda University Graduate School. Again, let's give a round of applause for our speaker, Secretary Matsuko.
Government advisory committee member on the policy. And prior to my presentation, I apologize for the next step. My presentation is putting up many numbers, so it makes you report. So I'm very sorry about that. Today I will talk about nuclear economics and also its economics program. Also, information about the CRC nuclear program and its consequences. Next slide. Next slide. First, some quick reasons from Japan. Nuclear power is always so cheap and reliable, but Japan's experience shows a very different story about the luxury rates and the years. First, that rate you generate about 5,000 Japan's electricity. It looks like a private sector success finance on utility currency, but it wasn't really private. It was guaranteed rate of return and a very high system, and they did not lose money. We estimate so was about 600 billion per year, roughly 230 billion pesos. It was always heavily subsidized. Then come 2011, Commission across this private financing illusion. Instead, this standard pushes the safety upgrade cost reactor to 290 billion, about 110 billion pesos, just to upgrade an existing reactor. And just itself, the cost is now estimated at 6.2 trillion, 10 trillion pesos. This is just the minimum estimate. The actual number of years is probably expected to be much, much higher. And compensation to contamination and emissions and the plastic is paid by ratepayer and consumers. This is and so is the SDG. Look at the action during the post state comparison pre-Krishna to recent years. In Japan, the uranium was roughly doubled. As you can see, history of 2010, average cost was around 7 yen. And history of 2020 to 2004, the cost became around 30. So it almost and because spreading is afraid this because this increase and possibility is seems the situation that maybe in Japan how to increase okay in Japan how to need a safety class and because spreading this and spread this. So the government is taking this cost recovery scheme. One kind of capacity market, 500 billion, about 200 billion pesos to be around between 2010, 2003 and 2005. Just 5 years. The power stock that was built is a increase. And this is the globally, Russia that lands 10 to 40 billion US dollars actually was no projections. Look at the Nukes state in UK, Kyoto in Finland, and Renewable in France. All so it was balloon without initial announcement. And in South Korea, the president held as proof that nuclear can be built cheaply. It's no exceptions when it comes to export. In the UK, built by Tempo was announced at 16 billion and later revised to 32 billion. Was overturned the rule of the exception whatever nuclear sale. Next slide, please. And SMRs don't escape this. In fact, on a per megawatt basis, SMRs are primarily more expensive than large reactors, not cheaper. New scales was announced after cost more than double, and the machine is supposed to roughly 3 million US dollars per megawatt. Multiple times higher than large conventional plant and about 8 rooftop solar. The whole promise of SMRs was mass manufacturing, so we need to bring costs down to economies of scale. In practice, the pollution has happened. Smaller units lose their scale efficiency, and efficiencies of the large reactors without gaining their manufacturing savings. Small are not being cheap and on per basis. And it's often the most expensive electricity on the industries. There's also opportunity cost. IAEA, International Energy Agency, life extension project costs 6 times more per ton of CO2 availability than utilities and create fewer jobs per investment. Completely enforceable keeping in mind when you get the accounts rubbish and not operator. This. And so government safeguarding home to consumers and ratepayers through capacity market. There are recovery scheme involving utilities while the covering of the liabilities. And now one about SMOs, the next generation sold as service incentives. SMOs market as cheaper and safer. As I mentioned earlier, also the industrial SMOs are 9 to 15 and really use the first site. and actually more expensive formula than laboratories. The growth story is just as tough. He has research on decimals generate more value with family of the output than conventional 1 gigawatt. 5 times more space grid, 30 times more long life overall waste, 35 times more short life waste. Smaller reactors mean more waste, not less. Necessities. And there is also a regulatory programs. Moses allows lots of people and which we just added start 3 to 5% for conventional reactors. EU monitoring over the barriers to weapon rate burning. Roughly 1/10 of energy and FOD from new natural mining. US congressional testimony have like and it's about 10% as weapon because just about and 500 to 10 and 500 to 1,000 to able to become so we have a program that are new service. So what does this mean here for living? Things like this. Let's look at the real number behind the GDP pyramids. Leverage cost of electricity per unit per class in 25, where we use rural energy finance and benchmark. And for India, there are online. And in India, our model 10 to 3 billion is 5 to 10 years. And developing cost is 16 to 500 cents per megawatt hour. Astronomical is expensive. But refurbishment is necessary. The work of it was estimate of 60 billion pesos versus 120 to over 180 billion. And that was 60 billion is unrealistic. If using at least 150 billion pesos, the cost comes out to about 170 million hour. Comparing that to in this case solar at 75 to 72, the plan is nearly 4 times more expensive and costlier than wind or gas grid. And this includes accident or emergency responses. And even before we talk about this, it is more expensive option on the table. This. And now to this slide. We modeled the severe extent of the family power run during the southwest monsoon season that covered using natural June 2005 as a local shot here. And the result, rather close 1 year away and reach the capital is equal to 9 hours. It's a breeze. And then go through results. It's right. I made an animation of it. That's not so. This is the sequence, right? And then, but I don't talk about okay, yes, it's marvelous. And I'm sorry, but at least I needed an outline one myself to build one of the most rigorous articles in access how you face. It process minor rate and it might measure minor in the same 4 to 6 hours window. And this is very severe exposure to the public. I know I'm starting to involve in CPN exclusion, iodine cancer, and people get evacuation or iodine public distribution as how people improve lives. And ask yourself, can you evacuate millions of people from money into 1 year as it became so rigorous in 4 to 6 hours? It's impossible. This is paper and it's capable and it's risk. This consistently is burden over 355,000 people could face exposure about 3 new seals per year, and 6.8 million people about 5 new seals per year. For comparison, China was roughly 80,000 people per nation. So using Japan's compensation level adjusted for about 5.7 million pesos per person. The economic cost is 0.7 trillion pesos for the green civil zone and 15 trillion pesos for the high civil zone. And this is clearly state evaluation and also economic activity. The real number is much higher against the 15 trillion pesos exposure. In India, the liability is just 5 million or about 3.5 million pesos. In the plan increase to 0.4 billion US rand is astronomical insignificance. It's a risk. So there is a massive activity and 5 billion pesos legal liability and 50 trillion pesos in real damages. This is a core risk. The also media or is paid by the public and the industry. When things goes well, it is keeping the public. When it does right here, and citizens are very and the translation is simple. Don't really don't say anything.
Thank you so much, Mr. Majin and for the striking presentation. Indeed, when nuclear fails, the public always pays, and we need not wait for a disaster to happen, right? Because as our other speakers have also linked earlier to the fact that the people are demanding for public services and pursuing destructive and expensive nuclear energy really takes away funds better used for public services. So we have room, sir, for maybe 1 to 3 questions. I'd like to ask help from our friends here. If you have a question, an insight for sir, can you please raise your hand? Okay, there we go. Thank you.
My question is about you mentioned about the cost of the incidents. My question is that you have a data for the health consequences after the incident, and until now, like for example, sickness, cancer, or anything like that. We can learn from the incident.
So your question is about high estimation
what are the data for post incident until now? We have
so exposure or just this just include how to say that interaction for operations. something like that. So when you do the field also the exposure in much higher. And also, this is just this is my estimation that when Japan experience the Japanese people who own the nationalized department to pay a compensation to the republic. And based on this, their compensation was calculated. Then this is the result of the compensation.
Hello.
Analysis comparing when you're thinking on the and looking at the part as okay. I agree. And I just wonder if you have the report on this. Because cost-benefit analysis, it would show the typical that we shouldn't be going into the yard and they have been waiting the so if it could be presented and taken seriously by the Philippine government, we shouldn't be going to that. If you have the report and have it presented to an international conference per delegates from the Philippines and yes, request.
So she's asking if there is a report of this impact of Fukushima. It has since been presented in a conference with Philippine delegates, which it would be material for cost-benefit analysis for the Philippines.
We actually made a comparative analysis. We're going into the compared with it was very good. It's very good.
So, I will explain my task. This is a data history, which is NOAA's program, inspiration program that can simulate some kind of the radioactive particles in the background. The wind comes from here to somewhere else and then spread the radioactive particle. This part of destination. And also I use origin. It is very common program to estimate the source time. inside the reactor. And I calculated only 5% in from the reactor. And then my calculation result is very very I would say very ground very severe to the people. So here we contaminate areas minor and micro activity is also the responsibility also.
Thank you. I think it's also a request, right? This is the value of regional platforms like this. If we have any projections, economic calculations, forecasts that can help bolster our national, the Philippines case against nuclear, any reports, databases, etc., that can help our case, that will be helpful to our movement. And so, if I may, we can say that this is really the value of platforms like this, right? We can learn from each other, we can bolster the national or respective national cases against nuclear. So I think it was also a request for the report to help us. So thank you so much. We have room for one more question. Yes. Sorry. I'll take your question. Nauna siya.
I would like to ask something about that. So it costs more. It costs more to generate. It costs more to generate. So very good questions. The question for you, it costs more to generate compared to other sources. What is it is slow electricity generation? Because it does not justify the high cost of generation compared to renewable energy and solar energy, which are not super efficient.
So, yes, the nuclear power plant is
What's more in relation to power generation? Is the base load cost justifiable?
the cost of nuclear generation is much higher than the cost of nuclear generation much higher than renewable energy. However, the idea of the nuclear power plant nuclear power plant is I would say generate the electricity constantly. So the industry mostly saying that it is reliable process. However, as you can see, when the nuclear power plant happens, this electricity accident. Also, the radioactive waste is not a sole problem. So I think it's not the choice for the administrative operations for the division.
We will take the last question, and then I encourage people, if you have more questions for our speakers, we encourage you to have discussions over lunch, which will be coming next after the award. Thank you.
Everyone says, and we all believe that nuclear is very, very expensive. One of the issues raised is insurance. Do you have information about more details about how much it costs and what it covers? Does it cover insurance for the plant or for the people
who have been negatively impacted. So can you elaborate about that a bit, or the other speakers maybe can elaborate on that? The cost of insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. Cost of insurance in Japan, there's no limitation. The government, the utility has to pay the compensation, even though the cost is much higher than the compensation, the insurance. So in Japan, there is how do you say, the insurance limit is there, but the compensation is much higher than the insurance compensation. The utility has to pay the gap between the compensation and the insurance limit. And in other countries who implement PFR, there is a limitation of the compensation. The compensation is limited to the insurance. Yes, also in the United States or other countries, in France or something like that. So the utilities is limited to the insurance. In utilities, compensation is limited to the insurance.
For the individual insurance companies. For the individual insurance companies, especially the global, right? So what are they?
So another insurance companies they switch the risk with the insurance companies.
Thank you so much for the questions. Again, we'd like to wrap up this open forum, but we encourage you to network and talk to each other during the breaks, which is coming up very shortly. For now, to close cluster number 2 of the discussions, I'd like to call on representatives from the Nuclear Free Bataan Movement academic, Attorney Cora Cabros from NNAF Philippines, and Sir Jessica Santo from NNAF Japan. Let's give a round of applause again to our
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. You need a photo? Okay. Okay.
Thank you again so much, speakers for this morning. At this point, we are going to break for lunch, okay? But it will be working on some issues, but also hosting a press conference in a few minutes. So we'd like to break for lunch.
Which is the lunch will be outside, so we invite our guests to please queue up outside. And again, we will come back in 1 hour. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.